Good evening, my beautiful butterflies and fly guys. Listen, I know you're ready to get into tonight's discussion. Listen, we're coming to you on a different night tonight, but we're going to get into this discussion. So without pause, let's just get to it. So recently, there was a very interesting incident that took place in the world of news. There was an ex-supermodel by the name of Paulina Porizkova, and she shared a post on Twitter that started a windfall of comments, both positive and negative. And so that is what led to our discussion on tonight. Are you invisible as a woman? And can fashion help get you noticed? Listen, you don't want to miss tonight's discussion because it's going to be a good one. So go ahead and grab your favorite beverage, and we will be right back after this. Are you ready, AB? Well, if you're ready, let's get it. Hit it. Yeah, in the building.
He spoke fashion. I'm telling he spoke fashion. So bad. He spoke fashion. I'm telling he spoke.
All right. Again, thank you for joining us, and I'm glad that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation. And so tonight's discussion, as I mentioned earlier, centers around an ex-supermodel, Paulina Porizkova, who you may remember or you may not know that she was formerly married to the lead singer of the group The Cars, named Rick Ocasek. You guys remember The Cars, that great group back in the early 80s and probably some of the 70s. And many of you may or may not be familiar with her or her marriage of 38 years. There were 35 together and 3 separated. But in the end, it was noted that Ocasek, guess what he did, y'all? He cut her out of his will, claiming she had abandoned him when he passed in 2019 at age 75. So he passed 2019 at age 75. I was a fan of the group The Cars back in those days when if we wanted to watch videos, we had to watch MTV. Do y'all remember that? We just had to watch MTV. But that's a lot to have experienced. But listen, that's not even what we're here to discuss tonight, because there's more. All right, let's watch this clip, and we will be right back after this.
Walk down the street without having anybody bounce anything off of you. Like, people will literally just walk into you, and you think, hold on a second. I am actually a far more interesting person than I've ever been. And this is where you don't want to see me anymore, because I've aged out of being physically appealing to you.
So what would you say has been your biggest struggle?
I had gone through my childhood being extremely seen, but then it was neither. It was nor better nor worse. He just stopped seeing me. He never actually heard me.
What do you mean by he never heard you?
Well, for that I would have to go back to the beginning of my marriage, in which my husband always saw me. And it made me feel so loved, because my parents never saw me. And so I finally found somebody who could see me, did see me, and wanted me. And that solved my problems for like ever. And then you start growing up. And I realized that I wanted my partner, my husband, to listen to me so that he could see that I'm no longer just the hot model that he had married. Men that are interested in a 50, 60-year-old woman is a muddy puddle. The ones that are out on the market now are on the market for a reason. And the fact that they would really rather date a woman 20 years younger, not that many guys that are smart enough and brave enough to date women their age. We have so many more demands because we...
In your journey, why is it a good place to be?
There's been so much grief and sorrow and pain. So much has been contained by this body. I feel like it needs to be aired out a little bit. I think I need to wash it with some soap inside, and then I need to like stick it out on a windowsill and like let the air flow through it, and then I'll reclaim it. But right now it's like, oh, the insides are like, it's tar. As much as I embrace this body and as much as I'm proud of who I am, I'm also broken. And I'm assembling myself, so it's not the greatest place to be yet. It will be though. It'll be pretty freaking awesome.
I love that. I love the size of your smile as you're saying that too. How do you feel?
I feel great. I feel like I took a really deep dive into now you can most definitely.
All right. And as you can tell, the supermodel has been very outspoken recently in criticism of her industry. And then she has suggested, as you can tell by the clip, that women of a certain age are treated like they're invisible. She stated that I am now completely invisible. She says, I walk into a party, I try to flirt with guys, and they will just walk away from me mid-sentence to pursue someone 20 years younger. She said, I'm very single, I'm dressed up, I've made an effort, but still nothing. Now, as you can see, this ex-supermodel is a very attractive woman. Of course, even in her, I think she's age 56 now. She's still an attractive woman. And she was very transparent in that moment during that video as you saw her undress and show her transparency through not only what she was saying, but how she was dressed and the unveiling, so to speak, of what you thought was on the inside. And so there are some of you that I believe can tell this very same story, if you're honest. I believe there have been times when you would have had to beat the guys off with the stick when you showed up. But seemingly now those days are long gone. As you can also tell by the clips, she sounds to me, as she stated, that she is broken. Now let me ask you a question. How many of you have at any point of your life felt a bit broken when it appeared that you were no longer visible? Sometimes, as she alluded to in the clip, it is within your own home when the hubby no longer looks at you quite the way he once did. Or perhaps it's your children. They no longer see you as they once did. You know, you were once the hot mom that your sons and daughters' friends always wished you were their mom. But now those days are seemingly long gone. So the question that I have to ask, and I hope you guys can help me, is what do you do? Believe me, like many of us, not only you, but many of us like you wish we could just go back in time or simply slow time down But it's not just that simple. We put in the work in the gym. Wait, stop the cap. Some of us have put in the time, some of us have not, but most of us have done things to help us to simply not be invisible. But many times, unfortunately, those things have not panned out for us. Listen, do you recall the days when you would go out for a night out with the girls? And watch this, amongst the others, you were the star that shined so brightly. Guys or girls would literally bypass your friends to find their way over to you, all just to be rejected and sent back the other way. I dare them do that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But you remember those days? Now let me ask you a question. I want you to tell me, when was the last time that happened? No, seriously. Ask yourself that question. Whether you believe it or not, those things do play on your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself in general. I also believe it weighs on your self-confidence, which in fact has a lot to do with what you will do and also what you will attempt to do. Let me explain. So without self-confidence, that job you want will be far out of reach, simply because you don't have the confidence that is necessary to even apply. There's another question I have for the viewing audience tonight, and I did mention it in my post today concerning your DMV. Now, I know many of you have been wondering what DMV stands for. And DMV simply stands for Dating Market Value. Get that? Dating Market Value. So my question is, how do you compete in the dating market if you are invisible? Everything pertaining to your dating market value applies to your appearance. And if you are invisible, then how could you rate? How would you rate? Within the dating market value, we know that the higher the number, the better quality man you can catch. The lower number, well, the more likely you will find yourself with Pookie and Ray Ray. Now listen, if you like Ray Ray, then that's fine. But to those who don't, wouldn't you say that being invisible is simply not the way to go? What would you say your dating market value is? Is it high or low? Hold up, stop the show. Excuse me for interrupting your viewing pleasure, but listen, we're almost at the end of the show. I haven't asked you once to do this, but if you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button down below. If you by chance are watching on Facebook, could you please hit the like button? All right, now back to the show. Now, let me pivot to what I believe can help you get noticed. One thing that I believe can help a person who believes themselves to be invisible is simply this: self-awareness. You see, self-awareness is the ability to focus on yourself and how your actions, thoughts, or emotions do or don't align with your internal standards. And if you're highly self-aware, you can objectively evaluate yourself, manage your emotions, align your behavior with your values, and understand correctly, watch this, how others perceive you. Now, did you get that? You can understand correctly how others perceive you. Now, why is that important? Simply this. It's important because it gives us the power to influence outcomes. The reason why some of us are invisible is because we are not self-aware. And one thing I know for sure is that if you are waiting for someone else to make you aware, you're simply going to be waiting a very long time. You see, the reason that you still think you look good in that outfit is because your girlfriends, yeah, blame it on them, continue to tell you that you do. But if you only looked in the mirror truthfully, you might just see that that outfit really doesn't fit. Yeah. Why? Simply because many believe that when you ask, this is really what you're saying. You see that? Because my butt look big in this, she don't really want the answer. That is the thing. You don't really want the answer when you ask the question. The second thing that I believe can help a person who believes themselves to be invisible is the ability to transition. And transitioning is simply the process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another. There are some of us who failed to transition as we got older. That is a very, very costly mistake. I know some of us thought we were going to stay the same weight throughout our entire lives, but that would take more of an effort than we simply have time. So we have to transition, and guess what? Our wardrobes must transition with us. I know you think it's cute that you and your daughter wear the same size, and you assume that when you sneak into your daughter's closet and pull out that teensy-weensy dress, that you are going to look just like her in it. Resist the urge, please. Come on, boo, resist the urge, because just because it's your size doesn't mean you're going to look the same way in it. Come on, resist the urge. Listen to my fly guys, help me out here. Have you ever witnessed someone of age wearing something that you thought was a bit too young for them? Or maybe it was you. Did that catch your attention in a positive way? Yes, we may not want to be invisible, but I would rather be invisible than to be noticed for the wrong thing. Lastly, there's one thing that I know without a shadow of a doubt will help you get noticed, and that is fashion. Now, I know this is a show where we discuss women's fashion from a man's perspective, and we will continue to do so. Remember, I'm Daylon Thomas, and this is HeSpoke Fashion. But on tonight, I want to qualify that word fashion to mean something not so like what we normally qualify it to mean. And so fashion tonight has nothing to do with what you put on your body, but who you are fashioned on the inside. Did you get that? As you can tell from our video clip, Paulina Porizkova is an ex-supermodel who was once voted the most beautiful woman in the world and the top supermodel in the country. But on the inside, we can determine she was broken and lacked the self-confidence she needed once the house of cards started to fall. My question to you tonight is, how are you fashioned on the inside? Are you okay? Do you have what you need to endure as we get older? Listen, I've really enjoyed you all on tonight, and I hope that you enjoyed this discussion. I'm coming to the end, but before I go, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. So many of you have participated or witnessed the 10-year challenge that has been circling across social media the last couple of weeks. And one meme in particular that caught my eye was simply this one. Many of you have seen it. So in this meme, it doesn't look like Tiffany has fared well. And that is why her 10-year-old self has aged into Joe Morton. Now, some may say she went from Tiffany Haddish to Tiffany Had It. but this is what I mean when I say that it is not all about the outside. The outside. Fashion does matter, but inevitably, it is who you are on the inside that I believe matters most. There's a reason why this challenge is for the 10 years in your past compared to now. And that is, none of us know what we will look like in the future. Many of us are afraid to age, and I want to say to those who are that there are only two options. One is to grow old, and the second is to die young. That's all I have for you tonight. Have a good night, good fashion, and remember, he spoke fashion to you. Have a good night. Yeah! In the building!
He spoke fashion. I'm telling he spoke fashion. So bad. He spoke fashion. I'm telling he spoke.